Today we're going to tackle a task that has to be done on just about every road-going car out there. Anything with an internal combustion engine anyway. We're going to take a look at an oil change. Super simple thing. Most people know how to do it, and some people don't, and you need a place to get started if you want to start turning some wrenches. So this one's an easy one. We're going to be doing it on my 2021 Jeep Wrangler, and we'll jump in here in just a sec. So question a lot of people ask is going to be, how frequently do I need to do an oil change? The old standard used to be if you were using conventional oil, you'd do it at about every 3,000 miles. With the newer stuff that we've got going on these days, you can go a lot longer. Most vehicles will have an oil change interval system in there, and they'll actually tell you based on your driving conditions, how you've been treating the vehicle, everything like that. It'll tell you what the life expectancy is of the oil. Me personally, I like just using a good round number. Makes it really easy to remember when I need to do an oil change. I don't like waiting until the vehicle tells me it's time. I prefer to do it a little bit ahead of time so I know that I've still got some good life left in that oil even when I pull it out. Cost of an oil change, ballpark, you're going to be looking at 40, 50 bucks if you're doing it on your own. If you're using a good synthetic, it can be a little bit cheaper for sure. But for me, I just do it every 5,000 miles. Makes it super simple. I can look at the odometer on the vehicle. Every 5,000, I know I need to do an oil change based on what I prefer to do. All right, so everything that we're going to need for this change, we're obviously going to need an oil filter. We're going to need some oil, some little shop rags, paper towel, whatever you like, gets you taken care of, no problem. On this particular one, again, 2021 Jeep Wrangler with the 3.6 liter, we have a 13 mil on a ratchet to get the drain plug taken off. We've got a 24 mil on another ratchet to get the filter housing off. Torque wrench there if you like torquing things down. Some people do. Some people could care less about it and just snug it down and run it. And then I've got a pick, which makes changing the O-rings on the filter nice and easy. I do have a spare filter housing. I've never needed the spare filter housing. Some people say that they've had issues with it because they are plastic, so theoretically they can crack. I've never had an issue. I tend to snug that thing down, torque it down, not go crazy on it, and I've never had an issue with one popping. So, but I have one just in case, because if one does break, then you are kind of stuck unless you have one to throw back in there. Well, let's get into it. Okay, to get started, pop the hood, get under there and see what it's looking like. A couple things we're looking for under the hood is we're always going to want to figure out where we're going to put the new oil back in. So we've got our oil fill right there. And then on the Jeep, you've actually got the oil filter housing is right down here. All right, super flattering shot down here. One thing I like to do when I pull the drain plug, grab a paper towel, just kind of set it off to the side. That way when you drop the plug, you have a place to put it that you're not going to make a huge mess with. Also, got my drain pan here to catch that oil. So let's see, when you first pull that plug, it's going to kind of shoot out a bit. So you just want to make sure that you're paying attention for that and that you're ready to catch it wherever it's going to end up. Break it loose, and then a lot of times you can just pull it out by finger here. So let's see what we can do. And by all means, some people like to wear latex gloves. You definitely can keep your hands a little bit cleaner. I've got another paper towel here somewhere just to get my hands when I pull this out. So just drop that, make sure it's going to be going into the drain pan. All right, so right there's our filter housing. What I like to do here is grab another piece of paper towel, shop towel, whatever. Just kind of shove it down under that front lip. You'll notice the housing actually has a little bit of a tilt forward on it. So I like to put this down under the front lip. It's going to catch any oil that's going to come out. You won't see much come out of the filter housing. Again, this synthetic is so thin that it tends to run out of the filter housing relatively shortly after the vehicle's been turned off. So it's not going to take much to catch what actually comes out of the housing. This one, again, is that 24 mil socket. Just gently loosen it. It doesn't have that much torque on it when it's tightened down because it's O-ringed and it is that plastic housing, so it doesn't take a whole lot. So break that thing loose, get it so it backs off past the filter or past the O-ring in there. Paper towel that you put down under there, clean up any of that residual oil that might have come off, or if you had a drip or a drop fall somewhere. We got the filter and the housing out. All that you need to do to get them apart is hang on to the housing, hang on to the filter. I like to just wrap a paper towel around it so it's not quite as messy. And just give them a gentle tug. They'll separate. And then after that, if you look, again, we've got this O-ring right here. We're gonna go ahead and get that changed out. So I grab another piece of paper towel. Just kind of wipe it down a bit. Get any of that old dirty oil off. New O-ring, again, you're gonna make sure that you get it all the way down into the correct groove because there's a couple of little grooves there. And we just kind of gently work it on there. We don't want to stretch and tear it, but you'll get it down into that register. You can see right there. There's a little bit of a groove down below it. That's not where it's going to go, but get it down to the bottom. One thing that I do like to do anytime that I'm dealing with O-rings and I'm putting them back in is I always like to lubricate them. And easiest thing to lubricate an oil filter housing, seal, or the O-ring on the filter itself is with the oil that's going back into it. So all I do, dip my finger down in that oil. You have just a little bit of oil on there. You can see that it is now kind of shiny. So I've got some oil on there. So as that goes in, it's going to have some slip to it and it's not going to want to stick. So I do the same thing to the O-ring on the filter itself. Now with the filter, again, you've got those two pieces. There's your housing, there's your filter. That open end just goes down into the housing. Give it a little push till it clicks in there. Easy. So I like to run it in just by hand. And again, that's sitting on the O-ring there, so there's still going to be some resistance. So then we can grab a ratchet and snug it in. And we're not going to wrench that thing down super hard because, again, it's a plastic housing. It is an O-ring. So right there, it is nice and snug. So I like to wipe off the plug and then also give a wipe to the pan. That's still going to drip off just a little bit, but not a whole lot. One thing you do want to inspect is on the bottom of your drain plug. There's actually a little rubber washer there. That's part of the drain plug. But you want to inspect that, make sure it's in good shape, doesn't have any cracks or any damage or anything like that, because that can cause leaking. Worst case, you can pick up new drain plugs, no problem at all. Once that thing's cleaned up, back into the pan it goes. So snug that in. Again, I just run it in by hand. Most of these things, as long as they haven't been cross-threaded or beat up or anything, you can run them in and out super easily. Next thing that we need to do is dump some oil into this pig. So again, 5 quarts go in. We're just going to pop off the cover to our oil fill. And usually your oil fill is going to tell you right on there what kind of oil it likes. So that one tells us it likes to have some 020. All right, so we pop the cap. I like to use a funnel. This fill is actually pretty big, so you probably could get away with using just dumping it straight in if you've got good aim. Definitely check while you're adding the oil, but afterwards, get down underneath, make sure that you don't see any drips or anything like that. Oil's all in. Next thing I like to do is when I go ahead and pull that filter out, or the funnel, is go ahead and give it a good wipe. Get the oil out of the inside of it, and also kind of catch it as it comes out. Make sure you're not going to, again, drip oil all over the motor. So clean that thing up. Make sure you get your oil fill cap back on. I've seen that a few times where people have actually forgotten to put the cap on and that thing blows off and it blows oil everywhere. You don't want to have that happen. A trick that you can do on this, and it's kind of cool that Jeep has it set up this way, is you put the gas pedal all the way down, push on the brake pedal with your left foot, and then you're going to push the start button. And you're going to push that and the engine's actually going to turn over without firing, and let it go for a few seconds and then push the button again and it'll stop spinning the engine. Pause for just a second. Do it again, let it spin again. What that's going to do, that's actually going to pump oil all throughout the engine. It's going to get it up to the top of the cylinder heads and everything, get oil all throughout the engine before you actually start it and it starts running. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. Again, push down on the gas pedal, push down on the brake pedal with the left foot, push the start stop, let off the pedals, push it again to stop. We'll give it just a second and we'll do that again. Now the engine's primed, so we can go ahead and fire it up, and it's going to have oil throughout the engine. Push down on the brake, hit the button. Last thing we have to do after doing the oil change is reset the oil life meter, gauge, whatever you want to call it there. On the Jeep, it's pretty easy. What you're going to do is you're actually going to push the start-stop button twice with your foot off of the brake. If you have your foot on the brake, the engine's just going to start again on us. So we go ahead and we hit it 1, 2, and that sets all the lights up and turns everything on, but the engine doesn't actually fire. Next thing we're going to do on the left side of the steering wheel here, we're going to cycle through till we get to the vehicle info. There's our vehicle info page. You can see there it actually says hold OK to reset the oil life. So we're going to hold OK, and once that shows 100%, we're going to let go of it. And that's it. So that's our oil change buttoned up. And that's it. A quick and easy one for you. If you're just getting into turning some wrenches on your vehicle, if you want to get to know your vehicle a little bit better, that's a really quick and easy way to do it. You know the oil change has been done right. You know what's going on with it. A lot of people out there already do it on their own, but a lot of times it is a little bit daunting to first pop that hood. And that's a quick and easy way to get used to it. Last things on the oil change, all you got to do is get rid of that used motor oil. A lot of times the place that you bought your motor oil from, they'll actually take the used stuff back. Some cities, they'll actually have a local oil disposal place. I've actually got one here locally that I found. I just dump it right back in the jug that I got the new oil out of and take it by there. They dispose of it, get me taken care of, and then there's no problems there. That's the first go around. We're going to get into much more stuff, digging into maintenance, repairs. This thing's actually going to be getting built up in the next few months, and keep you guys along for that as well. And if you guys have any questions, comments, drop it below. Let me know what you think. We'll catch you out there on the next one.